My name is Angeli, and I'm a writer and host for National Geographic. And I'm here with Mr. James Hendry, a safari live guide here in Djuma Private Game Reserve.
Hello.
Hi.
Hello.
So, James, if you could tell me just a little bit to someone who's brand new to Safari Live, how would you describe it to them?
It's an authentic wildlife experience that we take. So we take safaris, live safaris, and it's a completely authentic, unedited wilderness experience. It's a wilderness immersion. It's completely interactive. You can talk to us through Twitter or Facebook or whatever platform it is that you happen to be watching us on, and you will see some of the most amazing animals and creatures that we have here. So we take 2 drives a day and a walk, one in the morning from, at the moment, it's from 5 to 8 o'clock Central African time, and then in the afternoon again from 4 to 7 Central African time. You can work out what time that is wherever you happen to be in the world. And on those drives, we follow the lives of the animals of this area. Now, we're operating in the Kruger National Park, or the Greater Kruger Park, of which Djuma is a part, and we follow the lives of the animals here. And for example, there is the pride of lions called the Nkuhuma Pride that we follow every day, and our viewers, and you can come along with us and enjoy their lives and follow the trials and tribulations, their triumphs and their tragedies as they go through life. So for example, this great pride of lions, 5 lionesses. They had 8 cubs recently. We've been through a tremendous drought. The pride got through the drought, and then they lost 2 cubs to a disease. Now they seem to be recovering, and so there's this incredible ebb and flow of emotion constantly. Another example would be a leopard that we follow called Karula. She is the sort of queen of Djuma, if you like. She's got 2 10-month-old cubs, and we followed them from the day they were born on the 2nd of February this year. And so it's a really kind of authentic, almost, one hates to use the term soap opera, but it's an authentic wildlife soap opera, and it's completely interactive, where you talk to us, you share, you invest, and immerse yourself in the wilderness and the lives of the animals that we have out here, in a nutshell.
Well, absolutely. Well, let me ask you this. If you could describe this as a soap opera, what animal would you say was your favorite character?
Well, my favorite animal, of course, is the wild dog, and that's Africa's wolf. For those of you who don't know, probably quite a lot more attractive than a wolf, really. They're a sort of Alsatian-sized dog with great big satellite dish ears, and they're brown and black and mottled white. They're wonderful, wonderful animals, and I think the reason I like them so much is that they, unlike so many of the other predators out here, are very egalitarian. So they're not like the lions, which are kind of every man for himself. They look after their young, they look after their old and sick, and I always find that quite attractive. And also, if you view them on foot, they're tremendous fun. So they see us as a threat, but not so much so that they just run away. But at the same time, they don't see us as something to eat, and they are not aggressive with us. And so you can view them on foot, and this is a completely wild predator, one of the most terrifying predators Africa's ever sort of birthed. But you have these experiences on foot with them that are just sublime, where you touch something deep in the wilderness, and that's why I like them so much.
How often do you get to see them?
Not often. There are very few of them left in the world. They're highly endangered. In the Greater Kruger region, probably between 350 and 400, maybe, if we're lucky.
Like
so not many total. No, in the planet, probably, I would say probably up to 2,000, maybe 2,500, but probably about 2,000 dogs left in the world. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, let me ask you this. So you have the wild dogs as your favorite
Yes.
safari character. What are some of the other animals that people would be able to expect to see on safari?
Well, I think our major characters are the pride of lions, the Nkuhuma Pride. We have another pride called the Styx Pride, which is 3 lionesses. They've lost a huge number of cubs to a disease born of the drought, and so that's been very tragic. They've just had more cubs, so we've come out of the kind of doldrums of sadness and up into the happiness of that. So those are 2 prides of lions that we watch. There's Karula, the queen, the leopard. She's got another daughter called Shadow, who's had a very tragic life. She keeps losing cubs, so that's quite sad. But then you can expect to see elephants, and we have a special elephant herd, one who's the matriarch's got sort of the bottom third of her trunk missing. And so we don't know. We don't know what happened to her. But she's very recognizable, and she's kind of forged this little family around her, and she's got at least 2 little calves that she's had, and maybe she's moving with a sibling, might even be her oldest calf. She's probably about 20 or so, I think. And they move around, and we don't see them all the time because the elephants move much more widely than the cats do, but she's a favorite character of ours. And then if we're not looking at specific characters, we see impala and kudu and wildebeest and nyala and bushbuck, 9 species of antelope in all. We see buffalo, we see hippo, we see what else do we see out here? We see a plethora of birds. There are probably 300 species of birds that are potentially seen here. We'll regularly see about 200 of those. So, there are lots and lots of birds. There are beautiful trees and flowers and insects, especially on the bushwalk. We go walking and we get really up close and personal, and sometimes you might track a big animal, but quite often you'll be looking at very small things in great detail, tiny little grasshoppers and camouflaged mantises and dung beetles rolling their balls, and sort of gossamer spiders' webs in the morning with the dew hanging from them. So it really is it's a whole suite. It's a range from the tiniest ant to the biggest elephant bull. Yeah.
No, you're talking about being able to find this whole suite of animals really speaks to the ecosystem that is out here.
Yeah.
For instance, I think it was either you or Brent yesterday was talking about how even some animals would eat the poop of other animals.
Oh, there are many poop-eating animals out here. And it's a holistic experience that we try and deliver because it is a holistic environment to live in. And I guess one of those animals would be something like a hooded vulture, which is a really unfortunate looking creature. And it has a very unfortunate diet, which often consists of the world's most vile substance. And the world's most vile substance is at least lion dung. And nothing smells worse than lion dung. And the hooded vulture eats that, and then of course there's the herbivore dung, which all the dung beetles are desperately flying around trying to find and really enjoying.
Oh, sure. Well, I have to say, I think, so yesterday was the first time I actually held a dung beetle in my hand.
Yes, a special time.
A very special time in my life. But it was just fascinating to see, one, the size of it, and two, honestly, just how harmless it is. It's just very comfortable, and maybe it just doesn't know that it's a tiny dung beetle.
I'm sure, but I think many people come out into an area like this. It's kind of in the tropics, and they assume that there are going to be thousands of biting flies and insects and mosquitoes and things that are going to do you harm. In South Africa, we've probably got 2 or 3 what we call medically important spiders, so spiders that can do harm. You're unlikely to get bitten, highly unlikely to get bitten by one here. Yes, we get bees and wasps, but in the same way that you wouldn't touch a bee or wasp wherever you're from in the world, you wouldn't touch one here. But there are huge numbers of insects that are just fascinating to look at and are completely harmless, and by far the majority of them would be completely harmless. Yeah.
Well, let me ask you this. Between the insects or even the pride of lions, do you have a particular story about one of these creatures that sticks out the most in your mind? Like, they're particularly terrifying or really joyful?
Well, I had an experience the other day, and I always find this quite a difficult question to answer because there have been lots of different experiences, and they leave different residues in your memory depending on how you felt at the time.
Sure.
And I had an experience with an elephant bull the other day, and we were live. There are 2 of us on the vehicle. There's me driving, and then there's the cameraman behind. And the cameraman's name is Dave. And we had parked on a road, and there was an elephant bull feeding, a huge fellow. He's probably about 35 to 40 years old. So, he's in his prime, 10 tons. That's a big animal, and probably standing at about 10 to 11 feet at the top of his head. So a huge animal. And elephants, after a while, have a way of communicating with you through their body language or just a look that they give you or something like that. You get a feeling from them. And for me, it's very much a feeling. Other people will call it body language. Other people will call it something else. What he indicated was an interest without any form of aggression. Now, of course, an animal like that can turn a car over and do some serious damage. And he came towards us. And always with an elephant, there's a point at which you either start the car and move away, or you decide you're not going to start the car, because by starting the car, you make a noise. And that is immediately almost a challenge to an elephant. And he's either going to then get a fright and move off in a fright, or he's going to sort of come towards you, and he's going to interpret that as an aggressive action. So what I did was I thought we're just going to wait this out because of the body language looked fine. And he came closer and closer and closer until I was looking up at him sort of from the car. And he fed on a bush just next to the vehicle, and then he walked around the front and he sort of sniffed the front of the car, and it felt like he was looking at me. And then he walked around to this side, which was the driver's side, and I could have reached out and touched him. And he started to feed on a tree just next to us. And the interesting thing was, of course, the cameraman is now so close that all you can see when you're viewing this sighting, if he turns the camera to the elephant, is full frame grey of the elephant's skin, which was incredible. But the best part of it was that he then, he broke off a piece of branch and eventually kind of walked off and melted off into the bush. But it felt like he was bored and that he was seeking company. And we spent this time with him, and it wasn't in any way terrifying. Yes, it was breathtaking because it was, he's huge. You know that if anything goes wrong and he decides he's taking displeasure at you, you're in, there's nothing you can do. But it just never felt like that. And so it was so wonderful to spend that time in the presence of such a mighty animal with him choosing to come and spend that time with us. Anyway, so that was an experience.
Oh, for sure. It sounds like a very powerful experience.
It was emotionally powerful, yeah. Yeah.
Because honestly, the number of people who get a chance to do that are so few. But I have to say, though, unfortunately, that's all the time that we have today. But if you want to learn more about these animals and meet guides like James here, be sure to tune into Safari Live on Nat Geo Wild.